Hello, my friends. It is day 94, and we're reading Judges chapter 13 through Judges chapter 15. And before we get into today's recap, I want to thank you for taking a moment to check out this video. Hopefully, you are enjoying the yearly Bible reading program. And if you have not yet accepted the invitation, please take a moment to check out the description box below. And there you will find a link that will take you directly to the YouVersion Bible app, and you can learn and study along with a number of people throughout the entire world who are reading and leaving feedback on the things they're learning every single day. And I believe you would be blessed and you would enjoy all of the feedback and all the things that we are discovering. So again, today we are reading in the book of Judges, and we're reading chapters 13 through chapter 15. And here we're discovering a new judge, which takes up quite a great deal of our reading material over the next 2 days. And this judge is none other than Samson, and he's probably one of the most famous judges of the Bible, and surely one of the most well known. And so we're going to have a better understanding, hopefully by the end of this time in the book of Judges, of who he is and what he's done, and what principles we can take away from his example. Now, there are a number of things that stand out about him. We all are aware of how, perhaps if you read the book of Judges or read the Bible before, you understand where this is going. But one of the things that stood out to me in this particular year's reading is chapter 13. And it is very clear that Samson is a special child when he's born. It's very clear that he has a specific purpose over his life. And perhaps for the first time, I understood what a Nazirite could possibly mean. And I think in the past, what I have particularly done is seeing a Nazirite as being set apart for a particular thing that is associated with all Nazirites. Like all Nazirites have the same purpose, or should I say responsibility, of being separated for a particular thing. But I think the idea is that they are in general separated or separate from others for the sake of being used by God. I think that's the overall overarching, if you will, meaning and purpose of a Nazirite vow. Now we see that the Lord had it so that he would be dedicated as a Nazirite from his beginning, or from his birth. And one of the things that is very commendable is the commitment of the parents to understanding just what are the rules, as they would say, for this child who would be committed or dedicated to God. And when I read all of the things that happened in chapter 13, the rules that are to govern Samson's life and work, such as making sure that even the mother in the pregnancy is not eating grapes or raisins or drinking wine or alcoholic drinks. These things help me understand that there was a calling on Samson's life. There was a unique purpose on his life. And catch this is an important thing. How he protects that purpose will determine his usefulness and his ability to be used by God moving forward. So when we talk about being called and being appointed by God, we often celebrate the fact that we're called. And I think that's a great thing. It's amazing, obviously, that we are called. But the reality is, brothers and sisters, when we identify that we have been called for something, and that God wants to use us for a unique purpose, it behooves us. It's extremely important that we, as the carriers of that calling, protect our own character, our own hearts, and protect the calling that God has placed on our lives by living a sanctified, I want to say it this way, by living a consecrated life. Because I think sometimes people assume that their sanctification is based on their own works, and really it isn't. But really what we're trying to communicate is that we live a life that is fully conscious of the fact that God has called me to do something that I cannot afford to mess up. Like I can't afford to get in the way of God and his calling for my life. So I live consecrated. And when you think about it that way, it's more than just, again, trying to see how we can somehow get to heaven. It's more than somehow trying to figure out how can we make sure we're not going to hell. The purpose of being consecrated is understanding, catch this, I can be used at any moment in the day, and I want to be prepared and want to be spiritually ready for what God wants to do in and through my life any moment that He decides to do so. So I remain consecrated. I remain prepared for God's use. That's what consecration is all about. And so I look at this text, and as I read through chapter 13, then of course chapters 14, 15, 16 then become even more interesting to me, particularly what we're going to read in chapter 16. It helps me understand why this is happening and why it is such a stumbling block for Samson, because whenever he was born to do something, and his primary role was to protect the space and the life that God gave him so that he could be used in every moment. And we're going to see that how important it is as we get a little further into our study in the book of Judges. But a number of things. These things are amazing. Obviously, Samson is a powerful man. You look in chapter 14, where he is just showing himself mighty and strong. You look in chapter 15, where he is, killing 1,000 Philistines. I mean, he's just a bit of a warrior-like figure. And again, all of this must be protected by living a consecrated life. And a consecrated life means to live in obedience and submissiveness or submission to God, understanding that God could in any moment choose you to do something for Him that only you could do when you live in a state of consecration. My prayer, I know for myself as I'm reading this text, is to help me always be ready and prepared for the things God wants to do for me, or through me rather, at any given moment. Let me not think so low or so carelessly of who I am as a child of God and what I have been called to do, that I forfeit an opportunity to be used by God because I have not prepared myself for the moment that God may select to use me. So that's what I got out of today's reading. It is a beautiful, I think, principle to see how this is all unfolding. And prayerfully, as we get into tomorrow's reading, we'll be able to tie this all together even more. But listen, let's keep on reading. Let me know what you're learning. Let me know what you're studying. Let me know what is standing out to you. I'd love to hear more about your discoveries and what you are taking away. But until next time, thank you so much for watching. Take care. God bless. And remember, live by the word.